what I was discussing in my first lecture was a small introduction about the philosophy of Ayn Rand, objectivism, and we were speaking about the existence. When we just enter into this world, we look at realities in front of us, and what we try to explain that reality is independent of our conscience. Reality is over there. Here we are. Reality is there to reveal its secrets to us. We have to find out. We have to find out to satisfy our curiosity. That's why it's so important to be curious, to live a life of curiosity, to explore. Don't be afraid of going around the world, taking a look, and taking risks. Go for it. Impossible is nothing, the Yankees used to say. Just do it. Take risks. So, to learn about reality, we mentioned that we have senses that are transmitting us knowledge, visions, and perceptions, and we use our reason to capture all that information. We are identifying facts and integrating them into concepts. That's what these apparatus do. We identify, we integrate. Knowledge, it comes to our brain. With that knowledge, we can deal with reality. We can make mistakes, of course, but if we use logic to integrate that knowledge, probably we will be pretty successful. Next step, what do we do on this earth? We live our life according to our main characteristics. We are not lions, we are not giraffes, we are sapiens. And so what should we do in our life? We try to live our life according to our nature. Of course, we need to eat, so we need to be productive, but that productiveness needs to reach different areas of your life. You need to fulfill all your spiritual needs, so you need to search for understanding who you are and what you want from life. That's not an easy task. I don't know what I want, Edu, my students used to say. Why? Explore yourself. I want to play in Boca Juniors. Really, you want to do that? You know the name of the coach? I don't know. Do you know where the stadium is located? I don't know. Do you run 10 kilometers per day to keep yourself informed, like Messi does, to improve your skills with your legs? I don't do that. So you don't want to become a good soccer player. You need to be consistent. You need to be honest with yourself, explore yourself, and act according to what your needs are, what your wants are. Just go, but make a plan. You need to live your life with intensity. You need to, with honesty. You need to respect reality. You need, at the same time, with integrity. You don't have to lie to yourself, not to other people. We also said that we like to live in society. We like to be surrounded by people, not all the time, but when we choose to be surrounded by people, we like to do that because we learn from them. Division, people know things that we don't know, and we like to exchange knowledge, especially when we discover smart people, right? That you can ask them questions and you are interested in the type of answers they are going to provide you. So we like to be surrounded by people. And we gain knowledge, we gain friendship, love. What else? We exchange goods because we are good doing certain things. We are not good doing some other ones. So we have to find people to which to interact, not only in ideas, friendship, but also in goods and services. We like to exchange things. Why do we exchange things? Because we value more what we are going to get than we are going to receive. If I go to the dentist I do it because I value more the services the dentist is providing me than my money. And the dentist is valuing more my money than his time. That's why we exchange. If I buy a Toyota, the same thing. I value more the car than my money. The Japanese guy is valuing more my money than his car. That's why we exchange. That's what Mises explains in Human Action. He says that. He says that we act because we expect results from our actions. We expect to feel better, whatever that means. He doesn't have a clear understanding, according to me, of what objective values are. He's value free, and he makes mistakes that. But he understands the process of acting, saying that, yes, I act because I expect to be better after acting. If not, why should I be acting, right? Okay. Just when you trade, you do it because you expect benefits from it. Value, what is a value? Value, the question, Rand answers that question very easily. A value is something you fight for. You want to keep it. You want to gain it. Why? Because it's important for your life. Because you think that having that value will make your life better. You will flourish with that value. Excuse me. So the first economists we said last class, they were just looking at people exchanging goods, and they were just trying to discover if those interchanges were fair or were unfair. And if you are judging from a moral point of view and you say, what are you giving to her? You are giving her a horse. What are you receiving in exchange? She's giving me a lipstick. So what would you say? I don't know. Looks like she's giving you too much in exchange for what you are giving to her. So that looks very unfair. But the discussion then turns into what is behind the value of the goods they were being exchanged. And behind the values, they were trying to find something intrinsic to the goods involved. So they were saying, why the lipsticks? What is the value behind the lipsticks? Or what is the value behind the chair that is being exchanged? Or what is the value behind the table? And they were trying to find some intrinsic aspects of the good. Like what? Raw materials. Like what? Like quantity of hours involved in the production of that specific item. So that's why Adam Smith, David Ricardo, they developed that. What was important for them was the quantity of hours, because most of the items that were being exchanged, they were artisanal items. At that time, you didn't have very sophisticated items to be exchanged, so they were just counting hours. Marx took that labor theory of value, and he developed the plus value idea of if you are selling a good and you are making 100 and you are giving to your workers 170, so you are just gaining 30, that's a plus value that should be given to the workers. But that's not how market works. The value and the price of a product is not related to the quantity of labor you employ in manufacturing that item, right? You can spend the whole morning cooking an empanada. I don't know if you know what an empanada is, of mud, you say mud, and nobody's going to eat it. Nobody's going to demand that empanada. Why? Because it's not very tasteful. You don't like it. And you are employing resources. You are employing time. You are employing raw materials. And has value 0. So I can paint with the best paintings, pinturas, I don't know how you say that, and you can the best framework, and I can show you my paintings, and you will not pay 1 penny because I'm not an artist. I don't have the skill to show you something spiritually valuable, something nice. I'm not a good painter. So I could be 1 month there trying to do something interesting, and you will not pay one. And maybe a good painter, just in a napkin, he just make a small draw, and you would pay a fortune. So what we mentioned last class is that value is in people's mind. We are going to give a little sentence about objective and subjective value. But in the market, the value and the price of the items are related to what? To what you think about them. And how do you consider the different options that are submitted to you? You are just speculating a little bit. Do I like this? Do I like that? And you take into account what? 2 factors that we mentioned. The first one is what? I don't understand that. What? But value is composed of 2 components. The first one is utility, and the other one, scarcity. Utility according to whom? To you. Do I value this? And you, of course, I don't know, what was the champion of chess? The name of him, Kasparov. Kasparov is walking around Tbilisi. That's the way you pronounce your city? Tbilisi? Tbilisi. Okay, Kasparov was walking around, and he sees a shop, a window, selling a beautiful chess game made of nacre. And he says, how much is it? $100. How cheap this is. But this gentleman, that he's a great tennis player, he doesn't care at all about chess. He doesn't want to invest 1 penny in the chess game. For him, different values. So you see the people are just evaluating all the time different items and comparing prices and comparing everything. So the price system is a kind of electric panel where all these electric cables are connected to your brains and are receiving information all the time, and that information is changing. If you see Wall Street and how the stocks are moving all the time, it's because people are just changing opinions all the time about what they value and what they don't value. And they are reflecting that in the prices of stocks and the prices of the goods. So you don't know what you want right now. When you leave this hotel, you will be asking yourself, should I go to buy an apple? Should I take a taxi? Should I save money to go to the cinema tonight? You are just always reconsidering your value, your components, and taking decisions. So if you do not allow the price system to work, you are blind. And businessmen are waiting for your opinions. How are they going to know what is valuable to you if you do not allow prices to show? They know what you value because you show it. In which way you show it? Buying or abstaining from buying. You are voting, and you are deciding which items are going to be produced, who's going to receive the money. You, Mr. Tennis Man, I like you very much, but you are investing the resources of this community in providing us goods that I don't like them. So you're a good man, but I'm not going to buy from you. But I'm going to buy from Jennifer, because Jennifer is providing items that I value. So I don't care who is giving me that service. And I am an unfaithful person. Consumers are unfaithful. You have been buying for years, for decades, the same products, but suddenly you change of opinion because Mr. Jobs decided to create an item that you look at that. I like that. Takes pictures, I can connect with my friends in a very easy way. They are providing me a good service. And suddenly, the people who were producing type machines, they got broken. They don't have demand anymore. People resent that. That's why sometimes capitalism is not so popular, because you have been in the market for decades and years making money, and suddenly you are broke. Why? Because consumers change their opinion. And of course, some moral people, they don't like the way people spend their money. I've been investing years studying philosophy, and they don't value my classes of philosophy. They prefer to go to see soccer, just to buy pornography, or just to buy drugs. They don't like what markets are providing you. Should we control prices? Should we control investment? Should we tell the people what to do with their money? Do we have that right? Maybe it's not so good, the idea of just controlling people and telling them what to do. People learn through mistakes. Should we prohibit alcohol? In the States, they were prohibiting alcohol. Should we prohibit drugs? Is that a way people mature? Wouldn't it be better just to tell people, listen, you have risk. You will blow your neurons if you keep consuming drugs. But leave them free. Free to choose. Okay. So, regarding subjective and objective theory of value, the prices and values in the markets are organized by you, demanding certain goods and not demanding other ones. That doesn't mean that we cannot take conclusions about what is important for human beings, what is the objective value of one specific item. Ayn Rand, in, I think, Capitalism, the Unknown Idea, she explains this well. She's saying that the primitive man, they were living in a cave, and they were walking around to recollect some fruits and to chase some animals, but the time they had outside the cave was very limited, because at night the predators were coming, and if you really spend too much time outside, you could be risking your life, because somebody could kill you and eat you. So you had your feet to walk around, and your geographically environment was 10 kilometers. With a bike, you can go maybe to 20 kilometers. With a car, maybe 50 miles. With a plane, you can go from Buenos Aires to Georgia. So, and why is valuable for human beings transportation? Because you can explore and try to find from Ireland to Utah more fertile lands, or you can find Ukraine, or you can find the Pampas. So you will become more productive, and you can know more people, interesting people that know how to produce different items. They are more productive than you, and you learn from them. So from an objective point of view, when you have a means of transportation that is more productive for human beings in the way that you can reach more distances and quicker, so you can say that item from a man point of view is valuable. It's more valuable than a bike. That doesn't mean that you are telling the man who lives 10 blocks away from his job that he needs a plane. Of course not. In the market, he will be betting to buy a bike, not a plane. But prices in the market are they're coming from different expectations of people, and that's why they need to be free. When you don't have free prices, the bureaucrats are deciding what to produce, and you need to buy some tennis shoes, and they are producing all tennis shoes size 10. But my feet are 12 or 13. Is not big enough. They will hurt my feet. I don't care. That's what we produce. They don't know because they cannot understand prices and demands. So they try to copy places with prices, but they are very inefficient. Mises wrote a book called Socialism, the impossibility of economic calculus in socialist countries. Why they are so inefficient? They don't know what to produce. Like what? Prices are the guides. Businessmen are looking at prices. Who is the one making money in the market? The man who's discovering your needs. What do you want? I will provide you with something you don't know, but will make your life nicer. You will not be able to live without this item. And I show you this item. So in order for you to make money, you need to discover somebody else's needs. And what else? You need to be the first acting. Because if you reach the place second, you will not make money, at least not as much money. You need to be alert. And once you see the opportunity, just go for it. Okay. We discovered the law of supply and demand because of marginal utility. Do you remember the example I gave you from Menger, right? So when goods are abundant, you start to analyze those goods. I have enough water. I can waste a little bit. I can be in my shower half an hour because it relaxes me. I like it. But if you're in the Sahara, you will not be spending an hour wasting the little water you have. Each glass of water will be important for you. If you are under the sea and you don't have air, you have a tank trying to survive in the profundities of the sea, that's expensive, right? Because your life depends on that. If you're in the moon, it's important air because you don't have air there. So scarcity. There are some things that are scarce. Scarce? How do you pronounce that? Scarce? And they don't have any value. So you need to add the component of utility. They need to be not only scarce, but usefulness. Usable. They need to be usable. So when you, but if something is very usable and it's not scarce, like air or water, in these circumstances, it's not expensive at all. Okay. People fight when the competition comes. They are competing. You do not only compete in prices. You also compete in location. You compete in quality. You compete in colors. You compete in service, good service. So when you say, okay, this man is lowering his prices, he's trying to just gain market, remember that not only you are competing with prices, you are competing in different things. If you do not respect prices and you put maximum prices, you decide an earthquake. Is there any guy from Turkey here? Raise your hands. Okay, guys, in Turkey, a big earthquake happened. Didn't happen in reality. I'm just inventing. Big earthquake in Ankara. And the earthquake destroyed all your houses and apartments in Ankara. What's going to happen with the price of those apartments? Up, increase. What's going to happen with the rent, the price of the rent to rent an apartment? Is going to be up or down? Up. So now that I'm the Ministry of Lodging in Ankara, these crazy capitalists, they are trying to kill you. They're greedy capitalists, increasing the price of renting in this. So because I'm a sensitive man and I care about people, I prohibit these new prices that are imposed into our society. Just people, weak people, poor people just are being devastated by your prices. Is he solving the problem? At these low prices, what's going to happen with the demand? Is going to increase or decrease? Low price of the renting. He kept them down. It's going to increase. What's going to happen with the supply of houses and decrease? And it's going to be a shortage again. So instead of solving the problem, allowing the market to adjust, he's just doing that. The problem will increase. The same happens with minimum prices. I remember to be in New York and at the Central Park, full of black people there listening to the radios all the time, from the morning to the night. And if you decide to go for a walk at the Central Park at night, you were in danger. Because some of them, that they have been out of the market for years without any discipline, any order, they become thieves. Worse than that. So why that happened? Because in order to help them, what was the man doing? Just increasing the minimum wage. You don't deserve to make $2 or $4 an hour. I will protect you. I will force this capitalist to pay you $6. But the productivity of these unemployed people was very low. They didn't know. They didn't have the discipline. They were not in time. They were not good enough. So they had to be trained for 3 months. They were making losses to the businessman. So the price of the market was, at least at the beginning, $4, not $6. So they were not being employed. And after 3 or 4 months not to be employed, that your self-esteem goes down, your wife is telling you, you are not a provider, our children are hungry, so the guy became a little bit nervous. Anything can happen. So to protect those guys, they were just hurting them, not allowing them to enter into the market. So now I'm going to give you 4 laws that you don't have, just to finish with prices very quickly. Let me explain to you some laws. I forgot about, but we will make just a quick review once I finish. Cost law. Cost law says, I will tell you what it says, and you will explain me why this happens. Cost law says that final price of a product and costs always approach each other in the long run. One volunteer to explain me why? I will say it again. The final price of the products and the costs of the products in the long run, they will always approach. Sir, hable fuerte.
Because of the competition?
Because of the competition, but let's suppose that you are making a lot of money. Prices, the costs are very low, and the final price is very high. You are making a fortune anytime you sell an item. What's going to happen?
Demand will meet production. Demand will meet production, and there must be some point of...
Will you be attracting more competitors to the area or less competitors? Why? For profit, because you make a lot of money in that area. So more competitors will come to the area, allow supply will increase or decrease. Increase, prices will go down. And what about the cost? Because they will be demanding factors of production necessary for the production of that item, the demand will increase in the factors of production, and so the prices will go up until finding an equilibrium. That's why computers at the beginning, they were 60,000, and now they are 1,000, equilibrium price. That's why iPhones were, I don't know, all the items. So why? Because they are good people, because they are reducing prices, because they feel pity for you guys? No, because they are obliged to do that. Because of competition, they lower the prices because of the imputation. Second law you need to remember, the imputation theory made by Menger. What is the imputation theory? If you ask the ministers of economy of Europe, I would say on Latin America is worst, they think that the way the market works is like this. I add raw materials, I add labor, I add indirect expenditures for production, I add profit 20%, I make a list. So raw materials 10, labor cost 20, indirect expenditures of production 30, land or the local where I'm producing 20, that makes 60. I will add profit 40, so the price will be 100. So they think this that way. So they think that they are businessmen who are just determining the price of the products. Is that true or not? Are the businessmen the ones that are deciding which is the price of a product? No. So who is deciding what is the price of the product? The market, of course. So the imputation theory says exactly that. The imputation says the value of the factors of production, land, labor, etc., derives from the value of the final consumer goods they produce. It's not just you are adding and this is the price. It's just the contrary. It's the consumer that decides the final price, and because of that price, you demand the factors of production. Shoes. I want to produce shoes, an example, and I go to the third law. So I buy leather. I buy sole of the shoe. You say sole of the shoe? Sole. I hire a shoemaker, and I add some profit. And I put my pair of shoes in the market is 150 euros. Is that the price? The price is always a historical fact. Remember, prices are always historic. When the transaction is finished, you can say that there is a price. If somebody is showing you a pair of shoes in the window, and what is that guy telling you? If you value more this pair of shoes than your 150 euros, enter here and we will make a transaction, right? If not, just stay outside. Could happen that nobody enters into the shop. So 3 months later, what does that guy have to do? Clearance, sale. And sale for 100, doesn't sell 50. He tries to recover part of the capital he invested. So, imputation theory, the third law, Say's law. Jean-Baptiste Say, a French economist, what was he saying? Do you know the Say's law? What does it say? Come on, guys. Those are basic laws you cannot ignore in a discussion. You are in a political discussion. If somebody asks you about the law, cost law, or the imputation theory, or the Say's law, you cannot ignore it. This law, Say's law, supply creates its own demand. You were looking at Google, lady. Supply creates its own demand. What does it mean? You will hear our ministers of economy always telling there is lack of demand. What are they saying? Lack of demand. If you want to increase demand, what do you have to do according to Say? What? If you want to demand more, according to Say, what do you have to do?
Increase the price.
What? No. What? To increase supply. The increase, if you want to demand more, if you want to be able to demand more items, to increase demand, what you have to do is to produce more. Because how do you demand items? Giving in exchange what? Money. How did you get that money? Selling things. What? Goods. So if you want to increase demand in society, what you have to do is to increase productivity. I was planning to speak about this just in 10 minutes, but now, why Americans are richer than Argentinians, and why Argentinians are richer than Bolivians? Why? The answer is the value of what they produce, right? Why Americans produce more than Argentinians, and Argentinians produce more than Bolivians?
Because it's free market. If you produce
free markets, yes, but give me the technical element that they have that we do not have enough.
Capital.
Capital. Thank you very much. What is capital? The definition of capital. Give me 2 or 3 examples.
The structure that lets you produce.
The structure. Yes, but come on, guys. Simple examples. This lady wants to speak. She raised her hand.
It's the tool to increase your wealth.
Those are the tools that help you to increase your wealth. But give me examples of capital, please.
Means of production.
What?
Means of production.
I don't know what that is. Speak English. And what?
Building.
Machines, technology, education. Those are the kind of products. Why are they important? Because they increase your productivity. So in the same time, is it the same to, let me see, is it the same to, you say, arar la tierra, plow your land, plow, arar, plow your land with a Massey Ferguson than with an ox, you say ox, buey? Is it the same to blow your land, your acres, your hectares, your field, your estancia with the Massey Ferguson than with a pair of oxes, bueyes? It's not the same. With the Massey Ferguson, you are with air conditioning. You are listening to Nina Hagen or the Beatles. And with the oxys, you are being heated by the mosquitoes. You are hurting yourself. Is it the same to get a truck and you need to get the Coca-Colas out? I was in my university and I saw in the States a truck coming with full of Coca-Colas for the restaurant. And I saw the guy putting a machine into the truck. Shh. All the big boxes full of Cokes. They were coming here, and with the small, another little golf, he was taking those Cokes to the restaurant. He didn't move one finger. I was looking at them in Argentina. The guy with the truck, he put an arpillera, something on here on the back, on the shoulder. And he was going like this, taking the Cokes. In order for him to take all those boxes to the restaurant, he was spending 40 minutes. The guy in my university in the States, 5 minutes. No sweating, no nothing. The other guy was destroyed after 5 years of doing that job. Is it the same to pave a route with the proper machinery? I saw building a freeway from Pittsburgh to Grove City that was, I don't know, 80 miles in 1 week. You see in Brazil, in Belo Horizonte, the guys with 40 degrees with una pala. How do you say una pala? A shovel. Shovel? Shovel. With a shovel like this, 40 degrees, 1 centimeter for. So in Pittsburgh, they did it in 1 week. To build that freeway, in Brazil, it took 30 years. So your productivity increases in such a way that is so important. So capital is important. But if in your society you have Perón, a dictator we had in Argentina, and the Peronist people singing, Perón, Perón, qué grande sos, how big you are. Perón, Perón, cuánto vales, your worth is fantastic, dear dictator. Mi general, We hate the capital, they were saying. They were just singing against capital attraction. Why Americans live better than Argentinians? Because behind each American you have $150,000 in machinery. And in Argentina, they have 30,000. So we are not attracting investments. And if you have to wait to build your own savings in your society, it will take you 40 years. But if you open your borders, you respect private property, you deregulate the economy, and you tell them, come guys, come here. Invest here, we will respect your property. Of course, what will happen? They will come. Because in your society lacks capital. They need capital, so interest rates in your society are higher than in Texas. So the economy is always regulating itself. If salaries are very high in Germany and they are very low in Turkey, what do people do? They move from Turkey to Germany. If in the States you have a lot of capital and in Bolivia you have very little capital, the interest rates they pay in US, they are low. Why? Because there is a lot of capital, and in Bolivia they are high. So if capital is not going from Texas to Bolivia, ask yourself, what are the obstacles the Bolivian government is putting into place to stop capital from going from one place to the other one? Okay. ¿Cuánto tiempo me queda? Yeah. Half an hour. I'm teaching you Spanish too. Good. Okay. Half an hour. Money and banking. Some laws you cannot ignore. You need to learn them now. Make the last effort. Half an hour. People started with barter, exchanging goods, right? What is wrong with barter? Barter has 3 inherent difficulties. Tell me at least 2 of them. Indivisibility of goods in barter. An example, if you have a horse and you want to buy X, what part of the horse are you going to give it to the X seller? You have to kill the horse, it's difficult. Second,
You have to find someone who wants to buy it, but the money is like instant, everybody wants it.
good. We call them the problem of the double coincidence of wishes. If I'm a professor of economics and I want to buy X, what should I find? A X seller ready to what? To receive economic lessons. That's difficult, right? So, could happen, but it's more difficult. So barter is always a problem, but people are smart and they solve it how? Inventing money. Give me 3 or 4 characteristics of the merchandises that after time they become money. Give me one.
Medium of exchange?
It's a medium of exchange. You know, people chose after centuries gold and silver, right? Those were the selected merchandises after centuries of different discussions.
And NICON disbanded, yeah?
What?
NICON disbanded.
Nixon
Like
show.
a standard silver and gold.
I have some difficulties in understanding.
He's talking about Nixon shock.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You mean the world ran out of gold standard? We have different processes. We have the Geneva, you have Bretton Woods, you have the Smithsonian agreements, and the world went out of gold in which year? Do you remember, Mr. Nixon?
71.
1971, in the Smithsonian agreements. But gold was the money chosen by the people. Why people chose gold? Give me one good reason. Why? Durable, transportable. You can what? You can.
Limited.
It's difficult to manipulate.
It's easy to manipulate, but you can keep it in time. It's not rotten. You say no se pudre. is not rotten, it stays in time.
But it's difficult to manipulate because in order the fact that you cannot produce it by pushing a button.
Oh, you cannot, yeah. Yeah, it's difficult to create, yeah. But that's precisely why people chose it, because it's very limited. You know, the quantity of gold in the world increased every 100 years, maybe 2%, 4%, very little. And people chose gold because of what? Because if it's limited quantity, and they knew that they had a standard they can trust. Prices were stable, right? Okay. But you know what? Immediately the politicians, the kings and the princes start to, when they see money, they want money to pay for the army, to pay to build Versailles, the palace of Versailles. So they want money. What do? They depreciate the currency. How? They make holes, or they little, I don't know how you say that. They change the format of the coin, and they change the quantity of metal involved in coining those coins. So they were stealing already, but they were limited because they had to offer some metal to the people exchanging goods. But at the same time that this process of depreciation was going on, what else was going on? Banks were being created, two different types of banks. What is called the deposit bank. What is the purpose of a deposit bank? One hand raised, please.
To create digital money.
No. You are a thief already. Go ahead.
Put your money in a safe place.
To put your money in a safe place. Who's paying to who? Who is paying to whom?
We are paying the banks. We are paying the banks to keep our money safe.
Right, you are paying the service. When you take your coat to a specific place for that person to take care of you, of your coat, you pay him a tip at least. So you're paying the banker to keep your money safe. That's why you put your money over there, right? But at the same time that the deposit banks were created, another type of banks were created, the credit banks. And the credit banks were created for what? To give you a loan. To speculate with what? With the revenue coming from charging you what? Interest rates. And you need a loan. That man is giving the loan to you. The service he's providing you, you reward him with paying him interest rate. So those two banks, they were completely different, credit and deposit, but they become together one day. The day that my wife, she's my wife, and she came to me and she told me, Ed, you are a banker. And I answered to you, yes, lady, I'm a banker. What do you want? Well, all these ladies, they have beautiful coats that I don't have. Well, I don't have the money to give you to buy a new coat. But you are full of gold there, but it's not mine. Those guys deposit the gold in my bank for me to take care of it. I cannot give it to you. Yes, but I saw that when they brought your gold here, you gave them in exchange a receipt. You gave them a receipt, a note. What does it say? Miss Mary deposited in my bank, what? 5 ounces of gold, and I give you a receipt. With your name? No, was not with a name, it's without a name. Anonymous. Anybody can use it. But you have the receipt. So what are you asking me? That I give you a receipt? Why do you want a receipt if you didn't deposit the gold? Because I know that the people selling the coats, in exchange for their coats, they accept the notes. Well, and who is the owner of the paper? I am. Who is the owner of the ink? I am. Give me a receipt. Well, but be discreet, because something can happen if I exaggerate this behavior. What can happen? That all these receipts, people start gossiping that I'm issuing receipts without the gold behind, and they can come together because they are afraid of what? Not enough gold in the bank to pay the receipts. So in that moment, what we have is a fractional reserve system. The banker is a thief, he's stealing. But for some reasons, the judges, judging that behavior, probably with a tip in the pocket, decided that they were not thieves. They decided that if the banker is redeeming its receipts when people are coming to pick up the gold, everything is okay. No problem. The problem comes if you, as a banker, when they are coming to get their gold, you are not giving it to them. So we enter into the land of the fractional reserve system, where deposits of gold are lower than the quantity of receipts issued by the banker. Are you following me? Are you understanding or not? Or are you sleeping? I still have 10 minutes. Okay. Okay. Okay, good. Let me check what else we have here. Central bank. Politicians were looking at the bankers. What are these bankers doing? Giving money to their wives to buy things. They are becoming rich through their methodologies. So what we can do, the King of England, the King of France, what were they saying? Why are we going to allow these bankers to do this type of behavior, to behave like this, and we are not benefiting from it? So what can we do? We can create the Bank of England, we can create the Bank of France, and do what? We can act as bankers. No, we will be the bank of all the bankers. The only way to force all the commercial banks existing at the moment in Venice, in Holland, everywhere, in each country, to force them to work with the king was to do what? What did they have to do in order to force the commercial banks to operate with this newly created bank in their countries? They had one trick. What was that trick? Yes. Let's suppose you are the king, and you see this lady that created a bank, and she's profiting from the process of creating a bank because she's printing money just with a fractional reserve system, and all the banks are doing the same. Very little. The era of free banking was a very hard money area. Why? Because bankers were afraid of what? Of everybody coming to the bank asking for the gold. They were afraid. So when the banks were free, despite the fact that they were still printing some money, fractional reserve system, they were careful. So you see in the history of banks that their reserve requirements were 90%.